The country of Sudan, which is just south of Egypt, the north was more Muslim and the south was more Christian. And so they had a very bloody civil war that was fought for many years, and finally the country split into two. South Sudan, which is I think one of the newest countries in the world right now, is now still at war within themselves over which tribe will be in power. And so many of the families that are from South Sudan have immigrated here to Cairo, applied for refugee status through the United Nations, and then they're waiting to go on, hopefully, to a country where there won't be war.
South Sudan has gone through a lot of turmoil, and because of that, they have refugees all over. And Egypt has a very large population of refugees. So because many of them were Seventh-day Adventists, they started a church here in Cairo, and then they realized all their children had no way to go to school because they couldn't go to the Egyptian schools. So the church got together originally and said, let's start a basic school for these kids.
Matarea started as a training school back in 1923 when the Adventist Church purchased the property. It was also the headquarters for the publishing work. And then it became more of an orphanage at the request of the government. And from 1947 clear until almost 1990, it served as an orphanage. But at that time, there were not the needs for orphanages. And Mama Kruger, who was a longtime director for that, had retired. And so it was vacant for a few years until one of our local churches started literacy classes and after-school tutoring. And that slowly morphed into a school. So for the past 20 years, it has been a school targeting the refugees, mostly from South Sudan, who come to Cairo waiting refugee resettlement through the United Nations. But most of them end up staying here for many years. And most of the children at the school were born and raised here in Cairo. They don't fit into the Egyptian school system, which is in Arabic, because they are predominantly English speaking. And so the local church handed it over eventually to the field a couple years ago, and we have been trying to raise the standards, and the facilities are in need also of a lot of repair. But it's really serving a need for the refugee population.
We as a church, we provided a school for the students here to be able to give them an opportunity to learn and to grow and to keep them out of the street.
Because they're refugees and because they're on the fringes of society here in Egypt, they don't have a lot of opportunity. They don't have a lot of opportunity to go to school or to work. And so what happens is they're just latchkey kids. Their parents are working in any kind of underground job they can do, and the kids are left on their own, and they end up in ghettos, in gangs. And if they're not in school, then they're very high risk for being exploited, to being recruited into gangs, and really going off the rails. So the school provides a huge opportunity for these kids to actually do something constructive with their youth and to be able to grow into useful members of society. Right now, refugees from Ukraine and other countries are actively being resettled, but South Sudanese refugees are no longer a priority, and so they don't have an active resettlement process. These kids are not getting papers to go to Canada or to the US. They're just kind of stuck here in limbo.
These children come, of course, from very poor families. They don't have a legal status to be able to work. Their parents are working at multiple jobs to try to get food on the table. They're crowded into small apartments. And when school is not in session, I have heard stories that sometimes even very young children are just locked in an apartment while their parents are at work because they have nowhere to go, nothing to do. So this school, as a refugee school, helps these children and enables them at the same time to prepare for whatever future that they have.
These kids are refugees. They struggle to survive every month. So many of them say, oh, I need an advance, I need help. I'm gonna get evicted from my house. They're treated as second-class citizens here. And so they struggle on so many levels, and yet they're positive. They want to succeed. The parents want them to have education. And so they beg us to let them be there even when they can't pay. But we're stuck because if we can't pay, then we have no way to pay the teachers. So having these kids being sponsored by people in other countries, North America, Australia, Canada, wherever, this gives these kids a chance for a very small sum per month to keep these kids in school, to give them a chance at a better life.
Supporting schools means giving another chance, giving another life, for this child to learn, giving a hope for a family. Maybe it's the only son or only daughter they have. That's their only hope, that they can have a better future. So I really wish and appreciate all the families and all the support that each one of you can give, to give a chance, to give opportunity for the child to learn and to grow.
My first hope is that they go back and serve their people, their country. We need pastors, we need teachers, we need skilled professionals that can help build up the country of South Sudan or Sudan. And it's best for the people that understand the culture and are from that country to go back rather than there being foreigners like me that go to their country. So my first hope is that they are able to go back and serve somewhere in society or in the church spreading the gospel.
Education can help the students to keep them away from crime, help them to be educated, help them to be independent women and men for the future. And among all, it's our mission to have a good citizens for Christ.
Actually, my dream for the kids, I am also the father, okay? You like your kids in the future to become somebody, okay? To become independent. He has a good education, background, all those things. And this is my dream also for the kids of Motaria, that one day I see them, some of them, they are contributing in the building of the country, of Sudan or the country of South Sudan.
Know the pain where refugees are going through. Know the pain of someone who has been forced to flee to another country. And also know how a refugee can live in another country, make up his or her foundation, and continue with life. Life is not easy, but to make life easy, you have to work for it. And always, doesn't matter wherever you go, remember where you come from.
Well, without your support, many of these kids would not be able to attend. And the field, of course, is stretched. We are not self-supporting. We rely on appropriations and donations from the worldwide church. And so to be able to stretch even further to operate a school for refugees who aren't even part of our ethnic target group really stretches the resources for our field. We want to support this, but without outside resources, we would not be able to continue this school.
What does it mean to be a refugee? I've never been one, and perhaps you haven't either, but I have met and assisted several. In fact, in studying the Bible, it's very clear that Jesus himself was a refugee when his family had to flee to Egypt. There are several common traumas that a refugee experiences. They are fleeing for their lives due to imminent danger. They have to leave quickly and can take very little with them. They are displaced to a location they likely have never been to, and they may not understand the language or the customs of their host country. They often don't have basic necessities, and extreme poverty requires dependence on others for survival, people that they don't know and who may not be trustworthy. Families are often separated and communication is difficult. All of these factors add up to one word: vulnerable. Human traffickers prey on refugees. They are at risk for exploitation. The conflict in South Sudan, Africa, has created a humanitarian crisis. Child Impact has become involved by supporting a school established for Sudanese refugees in Cairo, Egypt. This school provides a safe haven for children who are vulnerable to sexual violence and gang recruitment. Can you imagine fleeing one crisis to encounter something even worse? You can help intervene by becoming a sponsor of one of these vulnerable children. Operating a school costs money, and a significant number of these children and families are without any financial resources. In time, they will become established, but that is not their current reality. Some have had to actually withdraw their children, but hope to be able to send them again if a sponsor becomes available. If this video has touched your heart and you would like to sponsor one or more of these children, you can do so by visiting childimpact.org, clicking on sponsorship, and then selecting Egypt. Or you can call our office at 423-910-0667. We have many other children also waiting for sponsorship. By giving to the Unsponsored Child Fund, you can help these children go to school while they await a sponsor. Thank you for your prayers and support on behalf of the most vulnerable refugees.